you all know me, I like to keep things conversational, and I love questions from the audience, so we will leave lots of time for that.
Great.
But let me just start off with, what is power? You have just been named 4 of the most powerful women in Nashville. So what does that mean to you? And I'll start with you. We'll start with you, Laura.
Sure. So for me, I think it's really a responsibility. So with power comes the commitment to lead your team, to lead the people that you work with, but to be a leader in the community, to support the community. And so I think it's a great honor, and I'm certainly really excited to be up here with these great women and part of this panel. But for me, it really means responsibility.
I think power is about what you give away. I think it's about how you use and steward that power for good and influence, how you bring more people into positions of power and influence. So I think we're only as powerful as what it is that we're able to give away and how we're able to make things better.
I love that. How about you, Johari?
Yeah, you know, the word power can be so daunting when you hear it, and I wrestled with it for a little while of like, whew, that's a lot. And so, once I've had a moment to reflect on it, I think the thing that immediately comes to mind is being able to use your voice for the voiceless, and how you can use your platform to really just spread awareness and really talk about the impact and reach that you can have in the position that you are in. And very much like Erica said, how can you bring more people to the table to make sure that there's access and equity that goes around using that title of power?
Love it. All right, Carrie. How about you?
All right. I struggled with it too when I thought about the word, but really I think power to me means taking action, but it's really with alignment, right? So alignment to my sense of purpose, alignment to the mission of the firm, and then certainly alignment of the team. And that doesn't mean like everybody all agrees, right? Because that doesn't always happen. But kind of building that consensus and making sure you're not leaving a big wake behind you, right?
Yeah. They're using power for good. These are the Belindas of the world. So I imagine each of you leads differently, right? You're very different personalities, very different people. If you were going to name one quality that you have that you think really sets you apart with your leadership style and ability, what's that one quality? And Erica, we'll start with you.
Ooh, that's a good one. So what comes to mind for me is thinking about what my career has looked like and having different leaders. I think where I am different is that I love to give the power and the authority away. I trust the team. We're super fortunate at United Way. We have an all-female executive leadership team.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And trusting people to do their jobs and to do them exceptionally well, being supportive of how well they can perform, making people shine. I love being able to empower or to give that authority, that autonomy away, and not being afraid to share a stage. And I think that stands out for me because someone did that for me, not being afraid to share a stage, but to allow you to exercise your gifts and abilities. Being able to give that to other people is incredibly important to me.
So good. Okay, Johari, what's your superpower?
Okay, so shout out to the girls and the women in the room who got talks a lot on their report cards all the time. We are the leaders now.
Yes.
So I say that is my strength because I have found, and as I have grown more and more into my strengths and professionally and in my career, I have learned that that is my superpower, that I'm able to walk into spaces, into rooms, and make people, individuals, feel heard, seen, valued, but also feel like they belong. And that has taken me a long way in my career of being able to bring groups of people together and communities together that otherwise would have never crossed paths. And being able to use my ability to talk a lot and my joy for just wanting to talk as a way to be that convener. And I see it as a strength, and I know that there are other women and girls out here who feel the same way, but that really is our superpower.
We're going to find a picture of you from this and send it to your third grade teacher.
Oh my God, yes. I hope she's proud.
Oh, she will be. All right, Carrie, how about you?
Well, I can relate to that. I think I wore even my parents down because they were so tired, like when they were trying to put me to bed. I was like, and one more thing, and one more thing. But if I think about, maybe you asked about our strength, what I hope, it's not every day, but I think I have a good balance of both accountability and empathy. And so I think that's really important as leaders because we do have a job to do, right? But we also recognize that we're a whole person. So when somebody comes in the door to work, we don't know the phone call that they just had. We don't know how drop-off went with their kid, right? So I think it's just kind of acknowledging. You don't just kind of check out when you come in the door. So just giving people that grace and having that balance.
Right, and Laura.
Yeah, that's great. I think my mom went and got one of my report cards that says talks a lot just to remind me when she saw that meme on social media. I was like,
I
thanks,
literally
Mom.
got moved in every class.
Oh,
Every
me too.
class.
Me too.
Every class.
I think it was boredom. We needed more to do.
You introverts are fine. You really are, but I mean, these are the talkers up here. Right?
Absolutely. For me, it's I'm a disruptor. So I like to productive disruptor. Hopefully my team won't be scared by that. But what I like to do is go in and understand how things work, why they work that way, what we can do differently. So challenging the status quo. I know I have a really capable group of leaders that I work with that know how to run the business. They're going to get it done. That are going to delight our customers, take care of our teammates. And so my job is to say, like, what's the corner we aren't thinking about that we need to look around? How do we think differently and be disruptive? And it's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm not sure they think that all the time, but it's fun for me. So, yeah.
Fun for you,
Yeah.
right? So I'm going to ask a kind of hit the nail on the head question that could be a little bit of a touchy topic right now. But I think it's important for us to acknowledge kind of what's going on in the world today. And it can feel at times, I think, that maybe we're going backwards as women. And in the areas of promoting women, and specifically women of color, into C-suite roles. What do you think? Are we going backwards as a society? And then what do you do in your roles to be sure that doesn't happen in your corner of the world? So who wants to start?
That's a daunting question.
Yeah. I'm happy to start and kind of share what we're doing. So kind of related to just the overall DEI discussion. So at Barge, we have a committee called One Barge, and it certainly is about promoting diversity in our hiring, making sure we're a place of belonging. But that is tied to the foundation of our culture, right? So we're not changing that. We had a quarterly town hall last week, and we got some questions about it, and I've kind of doubled down and committed this is who we are. And so it really is just about finding kind of the best talent, helping us meet the needs of our client, and why would we not open up, right, kind of these great, wonderful, qualified talent pools, and so just being really thoughtful about that. But at Barge, too, we're really thoughtful about internal development and promotion, and so that's the part, kind of to your question, like it does take focus to make sure that we continue that, right, because promoting people into leadership roles, it doesn't happen overnight, right? So you got to start back in the pipeline and really make sure you're doing those proactive steps. So, I mean, we've even started like just some of our internal committees, like who's on the committees, and we kind of stopped a few years ago. It was like, what's a bunch of men? I mean,
Yeah.
Wait, why? You know, and so just being more thoughtful about the opportunities we provide, kind of just a variety of things at Barge. So I am concerned about where we are, but I think we're doing our part to make sure that we've got the right focus to move things forward.
And Johari, working for a pro football team, I'm sure there's a lot of masculinity around you every day. So are we going backwards, and how do the Titans handle this?
Yeah, you know, I share that same level of concern, and I'll go back to your earlier question, Janet, about what does power mean? What does that look like? And honestly, it is using our influence in these spaces to kind of always, I take it as a responsibility to always have this running list of names of other women that I can bring to the table, that I can speak their names in rooms where they are not in those rooms, and bring awareness to the great things that they're doing. But I'm also very, very fortunate to work for an organization like the Tennessee Titans. Our CEO just believes wholeheartedly in supporting women. Special shout out to all of my Tennessee Titans girls in the back. That is only a fraction of the many, many women who make up our organization, who are leading in some of the most top roles, senior leadership roles, C-suite roles, that is just uncommon, especially in the world, in our industry. And so we're very fortunate to have a CEO who believes in that, but we also create that network within our organization with the women that we have within our building. And we have our employee resource group, our professional women's network group, that we share everything from resources to opportunities, but we also try to pave a way for some of the younger staff who are coming into the door, but also thinking about especially our college students, our university students, our high schoolers, of just showing them what's possible and the spaces that they can be in. And just, I'm a firm believer of you have to see it to believe it, and representation matters. And so anytime that we can get in front of groups, communities, young women and girls to talk about that there is a career in sports, that you can have that, we take full advantage of it. So, and of course, the owner of the Tennessee Titans is a woman, so she is all behind making sure that women are running that place.
So Erica, what do you see at United Way? I mean, your tentacles are all over Nashville, so.
Yeah, so I go back to having an all-female leadership team, but that started because someone had the visionary leadership to say, I see the excellence, I see the skill set, I see the competency, and not being fearful to put the people in the position who have the abilities to do the job. And then I look at our board who is extremely supportive of our leadership team. And the nonprofit sector tends to be heavily female. Having the development that goes along with that, wow, it's like I became the voice of God. But having the development that goes along with that, so that you can use your power and your influence to be able to promote others, to bring them up in the path as well. And I also think that there's something about, I'll say, the narrative as well. You hear a negative narrative, but there's also, do not allow someone's negative narrative to control your trajectory. Right. No one should be able to control your altitude. And I think it's so incredibly important. I was talking to my daughter the other day. She has an opportunity to lead a group of young girls who come from all over the world. And their mantra has been, we daughters have to get our families up out of the trenches. And to a person, every last one of them, first-generation college students, excelling in what they do, because the narrative and what they believe about themselves to be true is different than the meta-narrative that we hear out in the community. So I think it's very important what you think on, what you believe on, and don't allow other people to set your trajectory.
Oh, love that. How about you, Laura?
Absolutely, and I think similarly at Geodis, we have a very strong women's network. It helps that our CEO, who we are owned by a French company, is female, as am I, and we're about 40% female from a workforce perspective. But I think the things that we committed to doing, right, finding women and people of color sponsors so that they get the support that they need, right? How do you get advanced in the organization? Similar to what you were saying, Johari, is you need somebody to sponsor you. You aren't in all the right rooms. You may have some trepidation about trying something new. I made a career pivot earlier in my career. It's very scary, right, to go into the unknown. What if you fail? Who's going to help you? Who will catch you? Who will guide you into that next thing? So I think maintaining that really strong network and encouraging women to build that network. Sometimes we're reticent because we don't want to bother someone. We don't want to ask for help. I coached my own daughter on this. She had a great opportunity to meet the CEO of her company, and she was afraid to have coffee with him because she didn't want to bother him, right? And so really just pivoting our thinking to say that people want to help others succeed, particularly those of us who are leaders. We want to bring other leaders along with us, and we want to be a part of that. So don't be afraid, and we really made sure that we communicate that and reinforce that at Geodis.
So I don't know if you all noticed, but there are so many kind of young, early career, gorgeous, bright women in this room today. So I want to kind of shift to career path. And so maybe you can share something about I mean, did you just wake up when you were in the 3rd grade and say, I'm going to be a CEO? Is that how it worked? Or did you, I mean, how did you, talk about the path. Was it this linear thing, or how did you get to this tip-top position, and what's the path look like? Who wants to go? Carrie, you go.
Sure. No, I did not wake up in 3rd grade and go, oh, I probably didn't even know what a CEO did. I knew I liked math and science, and so I went the technical route, engineering, and I feel very fortunate because at my company, so I've actually been there since an intern, so I've been there almost 30 years, wow. And provided just a lot of opportunities and exposure to different parts of the business, so kind of management, kind of business services, and I think you do reach some point where, at least for me, I was like, well, how they've invested so much in me, how can I give back? How can I contribute back to Barge? And I want someone else to have the opportunity that I'm having now, so I need to get out of the way. But so I did kind of get to a point where it's like, okay, well, what's next? And so that, I had just our C-suite at Barge is great, and they actually had, we had trying to kind of a learning and development class that was geared to the C-suite. So you got exposure, and it was like the real deal. Not like we did the book study, but they actually shared stories of, okay, this is what it's like in the trenches. So you could kind of really evaluate and say, yeah, I can see myself there. I want to do it. And so that was really helpful for me to have that opportunity and say, yep, I can do it. I can. So, but yeah, I didn't go to sleep, many years ago and had that. That wasn't on my to-do list. So.
Well, obviously, I was too busy talking in class in 3rd grade. But what I will say is, I didn't have a name. I didn't know the name for what it was that I wanted to do. And honestly, it wasn't until probably maybe 10, 15 years ago that I finally had a name for it. And thankfully, I also had people around me, a supervisor who, she saw something in me that I did not see in myself. And she was actually the one who spoke it into me and said, hey, I really think that you would be a great executive director, a nonprofit, and be able to run one of our YMCAs. And at first I was like, what? No, ma'am. But it takes people like that who are able to see something, a gift in you, because that sparks a light. That sparks something inside of you to say, hey, let me put a name to what this could be and what my future could look like. But I also realized, and I look back over my career, it definitely was not a linear path. It feels like it was a jungle gym to get to, feels like it was an obstacle course at sometimes to get to this point where I am. However, I appreciate and value that because it taught me so many different things that I could take into this one position and this one role. But it also showed me that there's so many skills that you can gain from the different environments that you're in. And to take advantage of all of those different opportunities. And I think oftentimes, especially in this day and age that we live in, where we are so accustomed to the instant gratification and going for, I talk to young people all the time who come in as an intern and they're like, yeah, in 2 years I'm gonna be the CEO. And I'm like, what? Like, listen to yourself. So I think some of it too is appreciating the journey, like just enjoying the journey and enjoying taking every time that you get a position or every time you step into a new role, learn everything that you can while you are in that role. Every time you are in different spaces with individuals who are in roles that you may not even know that you want to be in that role, but you just think like, hey, Erica is an incredible person. I love what she's doing. Watch Erica. Learn what she's doing, learn her role, because eventually that pays off, and then you'll be like me. At some point it'll click and you'll say, hey, I really love this aspect of what I do in this industry, and here's how I want to do that. So.
How about you, Erica?
So mine was definitely jungle gym, like roller coaster. So I finished undergrad. My goal was I'll work 2 years. I had an undergraduate in business. I'll work 2 years and then I'll go to B school. So I worked 2 years, and then I met this really cute guy with the last name Mitchell.
Here we go.
Well, it worked out.
It worked out. And it worked out. We just celebrated 32 years. It's amazing.
Yay.
but so very different life course. So ended up, we started having children, and I've made a decision to stay home, which I did not anticipate doing, and incredible support from my spouse in staying home. So I stayed home for 10 years with my kids. And I still remember watching this news program on, it was like an early morning, I don't remember which one, I won't call them out, but anyway, an early morning news program, and there was a woman who was being interviewed, and she said, all these women who leave the workforce and think they can just pop back in, they are just sorely mistaken. And it was kind of like a dagger, and again, it's that idea of someone else defining what your success looks like. Determining what your altitude is. One, I felt successful. I was raising 3 kids, right? So I'm raising 3 kids. I homeschooled for 5 years. That was wild. Didn't anticipate doing that. I thought that was a weird job, and it was amazing. I loved those years at home with my kids, and ended up going back to school, kind of changing my career trajectory. And I think that's the other thing. We think it's going to be this straight line path, and it takes you can go so many different directions, and you learn something in every single stage. I laugh. My graduate exams improved because I taught 4th grade math. Not kidding. And so, but you don't anticipate it. So it was not this linear path, but it was exactly the path that I was supposed to be on, and then allowing people to speak truth into my life, allowing and believing that, and as people call out things in you, and it makes you want to do the same thing for other people, as people are calling out good things that they see in you, the potential that they see in you, believing that, and opening and walking through the open doors. So very grateful for those opportunities and where I am today, and having the multiple lives along the way.
Absolutely. Mine's a little different. So I was told I can't be. I was told that you're in retail, and we have people that know product in retail, not people that move boxes from one places to another or to deliver to your house the product. So they said, it'd be great. You can be the chief operating officer. You'll be a great number 2. You'll be, the henchman. You'll make sure everything gets done, but without that creativity. And I thought, well, that's not very fair because, clearly it doesn't, you don't have to be the one that's developing product to be able to be in leadership roles. So thankfully, again, similar to Johari, had someone who said, now you've allowed someone else's opinion to become a self-limiting belief for you, right? Now I'm going to carry around that I can't do something, and so switched over into an adjacent industry, right, where I'm now more responsible for the supply chain, and that opened it up. I also think, though, that a lot of us at an early age knew we wanted to have impact. So again, to Carrie's point about not being able to name it, you couldn't name it, but you thought, like, I want to have an impact, and I know that if I'm in these roles, I can even amplify that impact, and that's, I think, what then drives us to pursue and ultimately get where we are today. And then super important to reach hands back to bring those behind us.
So I imagine there may be a few people in this crowd that don't have awesome leaders like you and may feel stuck. What's your advice for somebody who is in a position and they feel like they're not being acknowledged, that they don't have sponsors, they feel stuck? Have you ever had that in your career? And what do you advise for people? And I'd tag on to that, is there a time when it's time to quit and go find something else? So what's the advice for people who feel stuck in their careers?
Yeah, maybe I'll start. I think, we talked a little bit as we were getting to know each other for the panel about courage, right? So it's the courage to value yourself and to make that decision. Now, that's easy to say, right? Maybe you don't have the opportunity to say, I'm going to quit because of your responsibilities at that time, but to advocate for yourself, to know that you are good at what you do, and to bring that to whoever can influence you. It's also being willing to think about, maybe I need to move laterally, maybe I need to take a step back. Maybe I just don't like this at all, right? Maybe I'm in a job and I really hate it, and saying, I'm not just going to keep doing this because, of whatever reason. There's so many things that you can do, the opportunities now, in terms of types of roles and flexibility that we have are so much different. But I think the worst thing you can do is sit in it. It really eats your soul.
Yeah. Erica, what do you think?
I think it's having, I'll say, the trusted advisors, the people who can speak some wisdom into your life. Perhaps they are either in a position that you want to be in, or it's just someone whose wisdom and counsel, maybe they're a little bit older, maybe they're a little bit farther along in their career path, and they can speak into it. Sometimes I have found that some young ladies may want to jump ship quickly because there's an expectation that I'm going to be CEO in 2 years. And sometimes it is time to go, but having someone that you can lean into and say, here's what the experience is, and what do you think? What's your counsel? So having that sort of trusted panel of advisors, I think, is critically important.
How about you?
Yeah, I agree with Laura and Erica of, definitely having the trusted advisors, being able to assess if it's time to take a step back or if it's time to just move on completely. I will also add to that is that sometimes you also need to say it out loud.
Okay.
So, I've been in that space where I felt stuck. And again, I didn't have a name for it. I didn't know what that next step looked like. However, I talked to a few of my friends, a few just people that I admire that are in my space, and I didn't say, hey, I'm looking for a new job. I simply said, hey, I'm really interested in the corporate social responsibility side, and I've been in nonprofit for 20 years. I would love to be on the other side of that, on the funding side, working for a foundation. And some of those people that I shared that with didn't even work in that space. However, they were able to give me feedback, able to say, hey, you should talk to so-and-so. I don't know anything about this industry, but let me connect you with this person. And honestly, being able to say it out loud really landed me where I am today, because through some of those conversations, they were able to connect me with other people who were already working in this space. And even just putting it out there of, hey, I think Johari would be a good person for you to just have the conversation with and learn more about what she's interested in and what she does. So when you are feeling stuck, take a moment to assess, figure out, am I feeling stuck because I am ready to move on from this position? Or am I feeling stuck because I'm burnt out and I'm exhausted? Do I need a break? Because that's also sometimes where your feeling stuck can come from. Or am I really feeling stuck because I'm ready to go on to the next stage, the next chapter of what my career can look like? And once you've really taken time to assess those three things and figure out which one of those buckets you land in, from there, start saying it out loud to people. Find some trusted sources and say it out loud. Bounce it off some of your peers and just see what they are able to tell you, what kind of feedback they can give you. And then from there, start making your plan of what that next step looks like.
Carrie, what to do when you're stuck?
Yeah. Well, yes, and yes. I shared, I've been at my firm since I was an intern, but I did reach a point where I was stuck. And so I kind of I felt like I had gotten lots of great opportunity, but then I was, just kind of doing the same thing. And so I kind of reacted and actually started looking for jobs elsewhere. And then I was like, wait, what am I doing? Like, I really like the people. I like the work we do. So I went and had a conversation with a mentor that was inside Barge and just said, hey, here's where I'm at, right? I love all these things, but I really feel like I can give more. And so I would just say, kind of advocate for yourself, right? People aren't mind readers, and they might make assumptions about what you have on your plate or what you want your next step to be. So I just really encourage you to have that conversation, and I promise you, they want you to. They don't want you to walk out the door to get the next opportunity. I think you'll find that most people want to figure out a way to help you and have you stay and be happy.
Every one of you is a mom. It just blows my mind how you manage both sides. We laughed on the call about work-life imbalance. That's what we called it. So how do you do that? I mean, how do you manage it? And I know some of you have younger kids and some of you have grown kids, but how have you managed to be in these C-suite roles and keep your family and feel like you're still being a great leader in your company or entity? Who wants to start with that?
I'm going to start because I'm managed because I'm an empty nester.
She's sitting at home drinking Miller Lite at night with a big cup, So,
Yeah, very different stage of life, and so I don't have the same kind of push-pull as I did when the kids were much younger. Helped to have a really supportive spouse when the kids were younger, and I was going to school or starting to re-enter the workforce. Just having the support at home was critical. We talked a lot about boundaries on our call, the boundaries piece, what you're saying yes to, what you're saying no to, because your kids are only young ones, so you want to be available to them as much as possible. So I'm going to let these ladies take it because, like I said, my kids come over for dinner on Sunday. That's what they do.
Yeah, on the call, I think it was you, Carrie, who said it's more like work-life integration, and I believe in that wholeheartedly because that is my life. I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old, and so it's busy. But I also know that it ebbs and flows. So one season, I may be knocking it out the park in all areas of wife, mom, and professional. But then there's some seasons where I can only get 2 out of the 3 really good. And then there's some seasons where it's like, we are 0 for 3. But I have learned to extend grace to myself. I have also learned that I can't pour from an empty cup. So when it's time for me to step back and fill my own cup, I need to take advantage of that. But I go back to also, Erica, like you said, having a supportive spouse who is just equally as busy as I am, but that level of communication that we're able to have and to work together, not only to support each other, but also to really think about our foundation as a family and what we want our kids to see. Do we want them? Of course, we all want our children to see their parents being successful and showing them, especially I have a daughter and a son, especially for my daughter, I'm like, I want her to see that women can do it all. But I also know that, yes, you can have it all, but it's possible that it's not going to be all at the same time.
Right.
And being okay with that, and being okay with setting those boundaries and saying no and understanding that, again, it ebbs and flows and there's that integration. There may be times that I am on a work call and also helping my kid with their homework at the same time, but I am present for both. But just knowing that it's going to ebb and flow in that sense and just giving yourself that grace to know that you can do it.
And Carrie, you travel a lot. I mean, barges in a lot of different places. So how do you manage this?
So I'm really lucky, like both of you all. I have a wonderful husband who has just more flexibility in his job, very supportive. And I think it's just picking priorities, right? If I took my son to the dentist, they would be like, who is this lady? Why is she here? but I'm at the soccer games, right? Like, so it's just those things that, where does your child want you to be? What's most important? And so just making time for that and then having non-negotiables. So my son is a senior in high school this year. We got the list of all the senior events, and I had a little heart attack, but then they are all on the calendar. They are blocked out. And the other thing is, I have a wonderful team, right? I have a wonderful team, and so if you need me, text me, call me, but there's lots of things that my team is going to handle and move forward. I don't have to be there for, right? That's why we're there. So I think, prioritizing and setting some boundaries.
Janet, one last thing that I'll add is just for some of the women in the room who may not have a spouse or may not be at that stage yet but have children, I also think about my village because you can't do it alone. So who is in your village? Is it a grandparent? Is it a friend who has become an aunt? Is it, you're a family friend? Who is in your village that can also help and support you in that space as well to help you be successful and accomplish all the things that you have set out to do?
It is not a sign of weakness to ask for help.
It is not.
Yeah.
Laura, your kids are grown.
My kids are grown, so also in the rear view, they're mostly off the payroll. I've learned they don't actually ever get off the payroll, so there's that piece of it. But what is so interesting to me now is in hindsight, I will say I missed this big game, and my son, who's 27 now, will be like, what? I don't even know what you're talking about. Right? So we have made some of these things so big and dramatic and put so much pressure on ourselves to, be the best wife, or the best partner, to be the best mom. And it is that grace, but now interesting to be able to get that feedback to say, like, if you missed my 5th grade birthday celebration, like, we lived, and I turned out like a pretty good kid. And actually to have him give me feedback now, it gives me goosebumps to say, like, Mom, you showed me what's possible. Like, how I work with women in my role is different because I had a great role model. So give yourself the credit of being good and your best at everything, and judge yourself much less harshly, because, to be honest, they mostly don't remember some of that. Now, some he does. Like, I still get the, like, senior game, scored the goal, and I was on the phone. I mean, so you
But did you go to the dentist, Laura?
I did go to the dentist. They wouldn't
Child
know
is
me
gonna be
either.
scored
They would
forever
have
for
called
that.
the police, probably.
Yeah.
So I think we're getting close to, we wanted to save plenty of time. What does it say? It's what? Oh, it's time for Q&A. Okay, great. I'm highly coachable. So why don't we take some questions? And I don't know if we can bring the lights up. I feel like